Okay, thank you. I sent an introduction that mentioned that this is kind of a spontaneous speech, and I was relatively adaptive this morning at 6:30 when I saw that Ann and Blessing were going to drop out. So these are my notes for today's speech. It is from the Pathways Program Level 2. It's about mentoring. It starts with the question, when was I a protege? And protege is the, if you will, the learner rather than the mentor. It's the person who learns. And as I look back at my career that I've shared with a lot of you over the years, I've had a couple of mentors in my life. One came to mind particularly. His name was James Keefe when I was in the metalworking industry. He was certainly my mentor because in one instance, and I remember this and carried it through my life, I was on a call once doing a story in a major magazine, working with an editor, and I was standing too close to a machine, and I was in a three-piece suit with a custom-made white shirt with monogram sleeves, and I was all dressed up for the occasion, and oil splashed on my shirt. And when I went back to my office, I said to my mentor, my vice president of sales, he was an owner of the company, I said, "Hey, Jim," I said, "I ruined this brand new shirt. It's about $100. Can I put it on my expense account?" And he stopped for a minute and he thought, and he said, "Well, Richard, if you can justify it and write it off to a business expense, and you can sleep tonight for having done so, go ahead and write it off." When I heard that, that changed my entertainment budget for the rest of my life because I realized what I can and can't write off. So he was my mentor at the time. For the next 35 years of my career in my own business, everybody was my mentor. I learned from everybody. And that's where I practice what I've called stealing genius. I've always picked up on some of the traits of other people and improved on them and made them my own. So they were my mentor for a while until I took what I learned from them, adapted it, made it my own, and used it in my career. As far as being a mentor myself, I think the first time I could call myself a mentor was actually in 2015 when Lori and I were here in Homestead already for 5 years or so. I was asked by the Miami-Dade College if I would be the mentor or the instructor for the YEA, which was the Young Entrepreneurs Academy. And they wanted me to work with them for 3 years to teach upcoming teenagers about the business world. And I personally had a lot of experience in business, so I shared with them over the course of 3 years some incredible business experience that they couldn't get anywhere else. I taught them things about bank accounts and about marketing communications and how trade shows work in the marketing mix. I taught them about P&L, which is profit and loss in a company. I also taught them how to write a resume and what an elevator speech was and how important it was to have a sound bite or 3 to 4 minutes of narrative to explain to somebody what you do. And we call it an elevator pitch because it was said that it should be given in the time it takes for an elevator to either go up or down one floor. So I taught all of these kids that, and I got a lot out of it myself in 3 to 4 years. Then, based on that success of the Young Entrepreneurs Academy program, I was asked by a lady at the Job Corps here in Homestead if I would come in as a teacher or an instructor or a coach and teach the teenagers in the Job Corps about Toastmasters. What is Toastmasters? And how could they use Toastmasters in their life to better their life and increase the potential of success in their careers? So I spent about a year and a half. I went through 2 different courses, and I basically cloned or duplicated the Toastmasters process, and I put it into a series of slides in a PowerPoint presentation, and I shared those slides with all of these students, and I actually took them through some of the meetings. And I think some of the people in this meeting were even part of my curriculum at the time because I would actually bring guest speakers in and introduce the students on how, let's say, a professional speaker would deliver a speech. So that was another time in my life when I was a mentor. We reach a point in our Toastmasters careers, all of us, where we start doing all of this in a learning mode where we try to learn as much as we can. And we learn from people we listen to. We learn from the speakers. We learn from the table topics presenters. We learn from the evaluators. We learn from guest speakers. And we reach a point in our career in Toastmasters where we no longer are a learner, but we become a teacher. And think about that. When you develop confidence in what you're doing, and you can deliver speeches like this, there are people who are learning from you. So in Toastmasters, we reach that learning point up to a point, and from that point on, we become teachers. And now we are the mentors. So we actually do a full circle from protege to mentor right in these classes. And as I look back at Toastmasters, especially the Homestead class, I see and I've experienced people like Silvio, who came into this club a nervous wreck, and look at him today. Mary Dominguez, who isn't here today, she was a mess when it came to doing this. Look at her today and listen to her deliver. And lastly, we have Tom, who had technical difficulties here today. We're not going to experience his normal contribution to the meeting, but he's another one. He said to me once when I asked him to join a club, he says, Rich, I'm scared to death to do that. I'm not going to be able to do that. Well, look at him today. He's got one of the brightest and colorful vocabularies of anybody in the club, and he's very comfortable doing this. So again, this was my presentation on protege to mentor, and that's what we are. We're proteges up to a point in this club where we become mentors. We're either teaching or learning or teaching. Thank you.